Welcome to today's Q&A, where we're sitting down with a personal trainer doing a Q&A. Let's rock and roll.
So the benefits and the difference sort of between partial reps and isometric holds.
So difference between an isometric hold and partial. So an isometric hold, for example, if we were doing push-ups, so we do as many reps as we can and we exhaust the muscle fiber after 10 reps, and then we're going to go down and we're going to pause. So usually we would pause at a point where we're probably weakest or have the least amount of stability. So then we're contracting and holding, and that would improve the strength and stability of the joint at that range. Now, strength isn't pinpoint specific, so we get stronger like either end. So the next time we can do it, we should be able to go a little bit deeper. Yeah. If you were doing, now the flip of that, a benefit that I like also is called a stretch or flex program. It's where we'll actually put it into a stretch position because I want to work the lat to get longer at that range. Because usually, like you see people when they do pull-ups, right? And they bottom out. So I get them to hold just before that lockout once they're exhausted, and they fight to hold that because that should get the shoulder nice and strong. Really good for people that probably have tears or injuries. And a lot of time, you might work with a physio or osteo, and they're like, hey, do more isometrics or isolations. So you find out where can they control it, and then you hold just before it. And then the next time they do it, you should be able to get that a little bit more. The third example would be, think of if you grab your fingers and you pull into a stretch, there's a point where you'll feel a pull. Yeah. And that's your Golgi tendon that's spasming, like, hey, don't go any further because it might tear. That's the feeling. So what you would do is you would go close, and in a stretch, it's called contract relax. So you contract that muscle nice and hard, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you relax, and you find you can probably go that a little bit further. So close, ease off a little bit, push 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you can go that a little bit further. So that also, in a stretch, relaxes the tendon to ease off, because naturally the muscle can, like, we can all bend our wrist to 90 degrees, but my muscles are tighter is because of poor sleep, hydration, fatigue, overtraining. There's so many answers. Or am I naturally just tight? So I would benefit doing those isometric holds at that end range to improve my range of motion. So Eddie and I have been doing isometric holds at end range to challenge it, like Bulgarian split squats, puts the hip flexor in a deep stretch. But then also, you should stretch and open up your hip flexors because we sit all day. To do Bulgarians for 12 reps, pause at the bottom for 45 seconds. It's a loaded stretch. It will open that up really well. Now for partials, you could do like 1 1/4 reps. Now, depending on who you talk to, a lot of people are like, just lift heavier through that full range of motion. I personally prefer partials. So I'll go down, I'll do 1 1/4 reps and back up because I'm holding weight at the weakest point of the movement where most people's technique breaks down. Yeah. So I'm going to teach people how to be tight when they're pressing. So in a program, it might look like you do 4 down, 1 up. And then instead of changing the tempo or the exercise, I just add a quarter pulse. So that increases tension at the bottom position. So even if it's 1 up, 1 down, that's an extra 2 seconds per rep in that bottom position. And then the next program, I might now go, say 12 reps, 8 reps, get rid of the pause. And they're like, I can lift heavier. Of course, they could have lifted heavier if they did that, but they're probably going to feel they've got more control and strength in the bottom position. Yeah. So then when they've got a heavier weight, they're able to go straight back up rather than a loose position. So that's partial in the quarter reps. The other partial, which we tend to use more with hypertrophy to stimulate volume into a muscle, like lateral, and you'll do this usually with a remedial or an accessory movement. So it's much lighter than a 100 kilo bench press, like the dumbbell press. It also is safer because if you fail on a bench press, where dumbbells, you can just drop them, or if you're doing dumbbell curls, you can drop them and you're not going to hurt yourself. So the partial would be dumbbell press, full range, and then I'm pushing as much as I can, a few more reps out of the tank, and then I can safely unload it. Like a lateral raise, I go full range. There's just a point where we exhaust the muscle fiber through that full range of motion, but doing a half rep, we haven't completely exhausted all of the muscle. So we do those partials to get a bit more out of it. That'll give a bit more pump, more like feel good, and then we exhaust the fiber, so that stimulates the hypertrophy element. Is it beneficial for strength? Well, strength is the ability of full range, so not really. However, we could argue to say, well, if I push out an extra rep or two close to that range, I should expect to see next week I'm able to do 1 or 2 more. So there is arguments where it's like, well, if you just rested I just did an extra set working through full range, you would get stronger. Yeah. But if I'm someone who doesn't have much time and I enjoy the pump, then yeah, I might do a few partials because then I'm like, well, yeah, I can feel that muscle. Yeah, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, nice. Where for others that we tend to work through full range with control and not close to failure because of wrist injury, we don't tend to get as much of a pump. But we definitely do lift load and there's more tension on the tendon. For some aesthetics is quite nice to have. So pros and cons to isometrics. The the only con I feel to isometrics is one, it takes longer. Two is that if you're tired, exhausted, to maintain and hold that form is challenging. So then, like the people we had today, we were all able to do it. But if we're like, I'd be like, just do 6 to 8 reps. Like, let's not do pauses today. Or I might go 6 to 8 rest, 6 to 8 rest, and then I'll go, hey, let's do 2 sets where we just hold. So you can be strategic with that. Cons on partials, it's just maintaining form. Some like technique gets pretty ugly for a lot of people. So I would just call it there. Like, yeah, don't worry about doing it anymore. Others that can maintain that form, great. So it would be used more for intermediate lifters, not beginners.
Yeah. So we spoke a little bit about the upper cross syndrome.
So upper cross syndrome for those people, known as kyphosis.
Yeah.
Yep. It's where if you were to draw a cross on my body here, it's like these muscles are tight, these muscles are being stretched, and then vice versa, these muscles are being tight, those muscles are being stretched. And so, yeah.
So basically, like, what are some other common like issues that you see in clients?
Define other issues.
Like similar issues to like upper cross, because you said there was lower cross.
So the lower body, yep. It's like sitting. So if you think the leg is at 90 degrees, naturally, if we were to stand up, we would stand up like this, and then replicating it. Over that looks silly, so we then arch our back, and we're like, great. But now, like, a lower back's tight, and the stomach's dumping out.
Yeah.
So, if you look at what we do, we're on the phone, right? We eat food in front of us. No one's like typing behind their back and like, yep, that's what I want to send. Or they're cutting their food and eating it. Like, that's what we want to be able to do is boom and hold that position. But everything we have is in front of us. It's just being mindful of, well, what's the opposite? Holding up. A lot of people do this. They'll pin their shoulders back and they go too far into like just the rhomboids. They don't think about the chest being lengthened, the shoulders and external rotators being pulled in position to hold. They just do one. Just go hands behind your head. Elbows out. You're starting to pull those muscles back and just breathe. And the good thing is by breathing, you're not forcing it. Where if I just, it's like if I put, it's like, I like to use people when they work. It's like, think of everyone in your team and everyone in your team leaves and you get all their work.
Yeah.
You could do it for a few days, but you would just, and that's what we do to the body for a long period of time. So it's like, well, what do? Well, we're going to back off the work. We'd have a recovery day, or we got to work the opposite, which is just for training opposite movement.
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of people will train chest and back, but those muscles still internally rotate. So we want to work like pec minor in its length and position, rear delts, rhomboids. That's literally just like holding hands behind your head.
Yeah.
Other issues, unilateral imbalances. So structural balance, we'll look at that. So literally look at one leg stronger than the other. So most people that are right-handed, right side, left side, left side. So if you're left side dominant, you train the right side first. If you're right side dominant, train the left side first. Because most machines have a single attachment. So if I'm doing a bar row, my left hand starts to fatigue, my right hand will take over. Because it's a bar, it looks fine.
Yeah.
But you give them two, you've seen our row, it's single attachments. You start rowing and your left arm starts to give, you'll see it right away. And you're like, okay, I'll stop.
Yeah. Like
my left hand can only do 8, but my right hand could do 12. It's all right, train the weaker side because eventually it'll catch up. There's always, and everyone has that slight deficiency because naturally I'm usually using one side more than the other. So we look to minimize that as much as possible. Other ones, if you notice a client like, and you can test it, hey, do dumbbell press, do as many as you can. They get 8 on the left and they just keep going. If you're able to find someone who's doing like 10 more reps, typically we refer out to a chiro osteo because they could have an axis displacement. So the upper upper cervical spine. So there could be like maybe they've had an incident, they've slept funny, they've like collision and they just weren't aware of it. And so they have like the nerve that runs through this cranium that inputs like what to do. There could be like a misalignment there. And so they do an adjustment and they're like, oh, I feel really good. We tell people, see someone like 2-3 times. Like we recommend Dr. Mason or Luke Ross, both like in Alexandria, Luke Ross. And there's plenty of other people out there, guys. But those are the two that I recommend from Cairo. And people go to them, they see them 2-3 times and they come back and like the strength issue's gone. If they've 1 or 2 reps, normal. If you're like, that was really like, they can balance on one leg and they're like on the other. Look, we could practice this for 12 weeks and eventually get better, or we can go see this person 2-3 times. If there's nothing underlying, and usually that fixes their posture and alignment because that will train them to hold that position. Things you could train is you just single arm obliques, like adductors. So like Copenhagen side planks, training either side. Like this one's 45 seconds, this one's 20. Start with that one, build it up, keep doing. And if you do 20 seconds here, do 20 on the right. A lot of people go 20, then 45, 22, 47. It's like you're still training that. Other challenges is most people don't know the exercises. So, for example, like corporate world, if my partner's a lawyer, if you and I both went to a law firm, we'd be like, what's with all these big words? And you work in...
I'm a
forklifter. Now, if you were to teach me, I'd look at you like, and you would probably be a good teacher and you would accelerate my learning, right? If I was to do it on my own. Same with Kate. But there's a gap. And so usually the gap is when we start with someone, they don't know. Like I say, go grab the multi-bar with a semi-pronated position with a 4-second down, 1 second up. They're like, where if you would explain, hey, so tempo, we go down for 4, up for 1, grab that bar. Don't tell them group, just grab it. 4, 3. Oh, cool. Now I get tempo. Great. Now this is a multi-bar. This is semi-pronated. This is semi-supinated. Let's do semi-pronated for 3 reps. They forget tempo, but they now remember the group. Cool. Hey, remember tempo? Yeah. That thing for 4. Yeah, no, let's do that with the semi-pronated. So we educate them. So then in 3-4 weeks, we're like, hey, off you go. It's actually why we've got 2 benches. Now, the epitome is they're both meant to be red, but one's maroon and one's red. And my team are like, man, we should get a new bench. I'm like, actually, it's really good because you can say to someone, hey, go sit on the red bench. Go sit on the maroon bench. They can, oh, that's the bench I should be on. So once people have a grasp, it makes it a lot easier for them to pick things up. So usually when we train someone, like we used to make 8 exercise programs, we now go, week 1, we do 4 exercises. Typically takes 45 minutes to an hour. Week 2, you'll pick it up faster. We'll then add another 2. And then week 3, add another 2. And so, because imagine if I had 8 exercises and I said, oh, look, we only got through half of it today. Too bad, how sad. Where if I said, hey, we're only going to do 4, but when you get better, like you progress, we'll add more. You'd be like, yeah, I'm achieving every week. Sometimes, like I see a lot of time with programming, is that we have this big one, but the way it's delivered isn't always like, I like to gamify. I'm like, congratulations, you're on level 2. You get 2 more exercises. Or like today in the class, I was like, congratulations, everyone. We finished, like we did really well. So you guys get the finisher of the finisher. We haven't done the finisher. I know, it's great, right? And they're like, this sucks. But I'm like, yeah, but now when you do the finisher, you're now done. You don't have extra. They're like, yeah, kinda. So I like to gamify. So those are some challenges. Other ones, I guess when training, most people have grip strength issues, scapular shoulder issues, like they don't know how to move their shoulders. Because the thing is like traps are on, lats are off, lats are on, traps are off. Most of us, because of work. Weakness through vastus medialis, so the knee, the muscle that helps like lock out. People don't lock out enough, so they don't lock out their hips, so they start in an arch. Weakness through glute stabilizers. A lot of people can feel their glutes possibly, but not able to contract and stabilize, so stability. And tibialis foot strength. So grip, shoulders, and neck. So neck extension. Thoracic. Everyone's got weak hip flexors. No one's ever trained the hip flexors. And if you're someone who's like, I train my hip flexors, like probably for like a few years, you didn't train hip flexors unless someone taught you to train them. Like sprinters, like they'll drive the leg up, right? But not a lot of sprinters are doing it with weight to increase the strength and the force when lifting the leg up. So hip flexors, glutes, stabilizers, and tibialis and foot and VM. So knee and then tibialis and foot. So those are typically all the weak areas. Like for gymnastics coaching for our splits class, so if you want to improve someone's strength, mobility, and range of motion to do the splits, we used to actually do 60 calf raises up, out, in. Not many people like I never have I ever seen a person first time be able to do 3 sets of 60, 60, 60. The thing is, everyone does 10,000 steps, right? So they're all moving through their feet, they're all using their calves, but when you isolate their calves, they're not strong enough, and they're just like, I can't do it. It's like, yeah, but that's not even going into a stretch. So if that calf is tight, it pulls on the heel and the knee, and so it'll shorten, preventing the leg to lengthen out for the splits. And a lot of people go, oh, my hamstring's tight. It's like, it's not your hamstring. It's the hamstring's already being stretched out. It's just working harder because the calf isn't allowing it to ease off. So you get the calf stronger and longer. That takes pressure off the knee. So then there's not as much load to the hamstring. And then if there's issue at the top of the hamstring, it's the hip. Because if the hip and the calf are tight, the hamstring gets pulled further, so it's doing more. So of course you feel the hamstring first, but it's actually stemming from the calf or the hip, which is like what I talked to you about, is like, oh, I feel my knee. It's like, yeah, but the glute's not doing the job. So then the glute is pulling and the muscle's being like, that's the knee that's pulling on the knee. So you feel the knee, like you feel the shirt moving, but the culprit you don't feel. So it's when you see, and again, we don't disregard someone who's got knee pain. It's like, well, where do you feel it? Is it is it through the knee? Maybe at the rec fem? Is it maybe lateral, outside or inside? 9 times out of 10, we work, rec fem or the lateralis. Like, oh, it feels better. It's like, oh yeah, well, it wasn't. You'd be like, oh, it wasn't the knee, but it was the thing attaching to the knee. Yeah. So again, you saw today, 9 times out of 10, it's the hand, and that 10% of the time, it's actually the thing. Yeah. So just because I've seen it so many times, I tend to think, what is that attaching to that muscle area? And if you want to accelerate this, you go talk to, we can send you Dr. Mason's details or Luke Ross's. Or you just go meet a physio, an EP, and sit down with them and be like, hey, I don't have any injuries, but I want you to test me and just tell me what you're doing. And that's what I've done. Is I would go to a massage therapist once a month just to find a different one. I'm like, teach me what you know. And you'll see as you do it more and more, you'll start to see some that, like, I remember one lady, she's like, oh, my hands and my shoulder hurt. I'm like, oh, got off the table. I'm like, lie down. And I'm like, the reason why your hands are hurting is because you're doing this. And so like a lot of the time they'll push down. But the thing is, if I grab here and I lean back with my body weight, you can probably feel some pressure through your forearm. I'm using my body weight to leverage rather than direct pressure, right? So like if I was doing this, of course my shoulder's going to hurt, my hands are going to hurt. But if a lot of good therapists, they'll use their body because the whole body working as a unit is smoother than just direct. Yeah. Sometimes we need direct pressure, 90-10. But yeah, I've actually gotten off the table to teach some massage therapists. I'm like, well, the reason why it hurts is da da. And a lot of the time, people forget. And so bring it back to your question. You've got all that information. Another problem can be, you could say, hey, it sounds like the client's really stressed or in pain. You go, hey, I'm not a massage therapist. I recommend you see one. And they go. And so let's say, you push down, oh, I can feel that, cool. And then I push harder, like, it really hurts. A lot of people don't tell people like it's too much because a lot of people believe that if I push hard enough, something should happen. So it's got to hurt. Yeah. But then by beating the person up, the muscle is like, so it tightens up. And so then it actually causes more problems down the track. Like if I push in your forearm and you then clench your jaw, you're like, man, my forearm feels better, but my jaw really hurts. It's because that muscle's so like you've now caused something here. Yeah. So we say about 7 out of 10, like you should feel it sometimes, but it shouldn't cause pain or just tension elsewhere. Like, see if I can get her to come in. So we have a lady called Valentina. So she had a lot of tension. So she came in. So we worked her sinuses, but she went in and now she actually has a clicking jaw. So because people like massage her so much, then she's like, oh, she just clenches her jaw so much. I was like, literally this much pressure. And she's like, oh, that's so painful. I'm like, yeah, because you've been getting massages elsewhere, but you take all the tension in your jaw. So now her jaw goes to open. I'm like, oh. So I'm just, every week I just 2 minutes of this. She's like, oh, so much. It's just a little bit of pressure and it's just gradually releasing the jaw because we don't want to completely like, because then she'll struggle to chew and then, so just gradual. So when you refer to massage, you tell people, speak up if it's too much. Most people believe they have to be beaten up to get the benefit, but then that causes the challenge down the track. So if you do refer, one, by you seeing other people, you can build your own network of people that you like, yeah, I recommend these people. Two is that, I recommend Dr. Mason and Ross, but some people are like, oh, like Luke is very soft with the touch. And I first met him, I was like, dude, seriously, come on, like push harder. And he's like, there's no benefit. And he kept doing it. I was like, this is crap. Like, come on. And then I felt my whole tibialis and ankle go. And I was like, damn. Like, he was just there 5 minutes, just doing this. Friction, tension, enough pressure, like I could feel. But I was like, man, you just got to push harder. Like, if you pushed harder, that thing will let go. But I never felt the whole thing release and the ankle let go. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. More pressure isn't always the answer. Like with Peter, we just gradually work it. We're breathing through it. We can feel it, but it's not so much where it's like tightening up. So by building, and so yeah, some people will go to Luke and they're like, oh man, like I felt like he could have done more. I'm like, oh, go to Cam, go to Brendan. So I have other people. So when people tell me I've got others to refer to based off their needs, like some people like don't want to be touched, but I'm okay with needles. Okay, go get acupuncture. I don't like Eddie's like, I hate needles. Cool. Cold laser. So I like to have the answers to support those people and guide them. And then lastly is that if it's too much, get them to speak up. So then when they come back to you, they come back not worse. They come back better. Is there any other things? Other than that, I'd say most people just overcomplicate. They're just overwhelmed. There's just so much information. So the way we coach, I like to just be like one thing at a time. Like, instead of 8 exercises, we're going to do 4, but we'll nail those 4 and then progress. Or if we gave you 8 and you forgot about half of them, you're in the gym and you're like, forgot that exercise. And then what do? You go, what's the point? I'll just do my own thing. And so then the retention for people to stay with you is not proficient.
The last thing I have is, would you be able to just go over the remedial and accessories one more time?
Yeah, sure. So talking about program design, let's start from the big one first. So compound. So usually in a program, we'll have, the way I like to program is we do pre-work or weak links. What is the challenge that you're having that's stopping you from getting into a compound movement? So if it's for squats, your knee doesn't travel forward past your toes. Let's say it's a weakness in the ankle or the foot. Cool, we're going to do some seated calf work, do some core work, so that primes you and warms you up, do 2 warm-up sets, and now we squat. The compound movements, also known as indicator lifts, there are 8. We have 6, I think it's 16 or 12. Can't remember. Far out. I've just come from American time zones, so my brain's catching up. But the body is willing, but the mind is not. So there are indicator lifts. Now, the indicator lifts are kind of what we look at, where rather than look at everything, if you said, hey, am I getting better? I go, back squat, 80 kilos, 90. Yep. 80 kilos, 70? No. So it's easy to quickly look at a glance at a program, get some data and go, because squat works your quads, your adductors, your glutes, like works a lot of the muscles. So if that lift is going up, we can have confidence that the program's working. Vice versa. Now, using the squat as an example, an accessory to the squat. So the challenge with the squat is what? Well, if I'm not loading my hip flexor. So the quad and the hip flexor are in a shortened position. So how do we get it into a lengthened position? Split squats, lunges. That one leg goes behind it, that loads and lengthens the quad. So if we look at the quad muscle or the squat, The thing that is missing is the quad and the hip flexor is not being put through full range of motion. Great. Accessory, split squat. What about, well, Karl, what about the adductors? Cool. Let's do some lateral lunges. Now, if we did split squats and lateral lunges superset together, what happens? We overload the quad. So the quads get fatigued. We then don't hit it. So we might go split squat supersetted with Copenhagen. So then we're loading the adductor. Or we might do, put a band on the leg and push the leg to, like, keep the leg straight and push it towards it. So I'm loading that adductor. Or if you did back squat supersetted with hamstring curl, and then we do split squat, the challenge with the hamstring curl, if we think about it, is the hamstring being put through full range of motion. Well, from the knee in the lying hamstring curl, yes, but in the hip, no. So the accessory to that movement is we'll probably do a Nordic or a back extension. So then we're working from the hip, stretching the hamstring as much as we can. Now, so we've got compounds and accessories. So accessory to that compound movement, you could do step ups. You could do leg press. Leg press, though, still keeps the quad short, but it's another way of loading the legs, because with the leg press, we can probably add twice as much weight because we're more stable. There's not as much stability. Or a Smith machine squat, challenging, instead of doing an upright squat, because, you're a tall guy, so you need more hip hinge, we're now going to do a front squat or a quad squat, staying as vertical as we can to load the quads, knees more forward. The remedials to those is what is the weak link? Or if it was bodybuilding, it's like, I want more quad because I want to grow my quads. Cool, leg extension.
Yeah.
If my VM is my weakest link, I could do like partial step ups. If it was the calves, calf raises. If I just can't hold this position up when doing a front squat, we'll do some face pulls, or maybe do some Zertrus like holds, like loaded lifts. So you're looking, I like to think as remedials as the weak link as well. So I do weak links before and weak links after.
Yeah.
And so compound, big movement indicator lift, it's like the bread and butter. So if you weren't to do anything else, you at least work a lot of the muscles in the body. If you got time, you work an accessory to that movement, whatever you want to call that. And then the remedial is like, what is the weak link that you're wanting to work on? It might even be everything's really good, but in 3 days' time, I'm going to be deadlifting and I'm really struggling with deadlifts. Cool. I'm going to do some Romanians today. It works the hammies, but it's just to work the movement pattern that I struggle with the most. You might even say, you're looking at me and you're like, this guy, I've got a 12 weeks time, Karl needs to be competing for deadlifts. He's pretty bad. Like, let's say he's doing 150 kilos for every other lift. You're like, it's pretty strong. Man, he can only deadlift 50 kilos. Like, shit. What do I do? You might go remedials. Before you start your workout, you might give me do 2 sets of deadlifts every day with a bar just to practice the movement. Now, if I practice daily, I'm going to get really good at it. You might go deadlifts on Friday, but on Tuesday, we're going to do some just loaded Romanian deadlifts, because that'll have him practicing with load twice.
Yeah.
But then you have me practicing 4 times with just the bar, because then that'll grease the grooves, get better at the movement. So lots of analysis there. Examples. The way to think of it is big compound indicator lift. You typically would have 2 to 4 in a week for a client, not all of them, 2 to 4. Remedials to improve that compound. So even if you didn't get stronger, like let's say you chose not to lift heavier in the compound, the remedial you might see get stronger, and that should make the compound easier over time. And accessory, and then the remedial is the weak link or something to work those. So again, if we were struggling to hold that front squat position, then what are things that would hold the shoulder up in place? You could lengthen the lat, rhomboids, rear delts, external rotators. So you would do that as a remedial, like you do 3 sets of external rotation. And what you can do is, if you're like, is that actually going to benefit? Go back over to the front squat and get them to do another set. So if you think, external rotation, like if you just do that. So if you say like, this makes sense, right? External rotation.
Yeah.
Cool, well, that's the position I want. You go do 2-3 sets of that. And then you go, right, go back to the front squat. And you're like, okay, it's not external rotation. And so you like I said, sometimes it's like, it makes sense. And you watch the person do it and you're like, nope. Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's do some face pulls. 3 sets. Go for squat. All right, it's better. Awesome. And so then what happens is then from that knowledge of this meeting the client, you go, cool. Next time I have that same issue in the front squat, I'll do the face pull first instead. Because that I saw that worked. And then you do it, you've got Andy, you do it for Andy. And then it's like, it didn't work. What else is there? And you might think, oh, maybe the cobras. And again, makes sense because they're opening this, so it's more upright and it works for Andy. Okay, cool. I will now do face pulls and cobras, superset them together because then that will overload the erectors and the upper back, good amount of volume, which helps those postural muscles.
Yeah.
So lots of open information for you. Fundamentally, indicator lift, supporter, accessory supports the indicator lift to get stronger. More than likely because you don't have as much range of motion. Like bench press, the chest is in the way. So we go dumbbell to get more range to increase strength. And the remedial is what is the thing that supports those movements? Typically in the pressing movements, it's like what are the muscles in the back? That like the little muscles that we all should be doing, but we tend to run out of time and don't do.
Yeah.
So if a client gets at least 70% of it, they should get stronger. And if there's any niggles in the way, it's like, well, you're not doing that 30%.
Yeah. Ah, well, that's all I've got.
Yeah, awesome.
Questions answered.
Beautiful. Till next time. Enjoy.